Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Fusion Deck User in a different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 281, Arrangement. Flap, flap. Bastion was so startled that he fell under the table. The spirits froze, hands halting mid-task as they stared at Hikaru. Oh. So that's how it is. Selena clapped her hands together, enlightened. She still had much to learn from Hikaru. BB Blue Eyes White Dragon? That legendary dragon? Rosemary pressed her hands on the table, eyes wide as she asked Hikaru. Yeah. Hikaru nodded. Bastion climbed up, leaning on the table as he slowly stood. No way, Hikaru. Don't tell me, you're aiming for Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon? Hikaru nodded again. Yeah. You should know. It's the only way. Bastion's gaze shifted from shock to realization, then back to shock. Shocked that Hikaru's target was Seto Kaiba's Blue Eyes White Dragon. After all, there were only 4 Blue Eyes White Dragon cards in the entire world, and all of them were said to be in Kaiba's possession. Blue Eyes White Dragon was Kaiba's soul. But, in other words, if Hikaru wanted to collect every fusion-related card, Blue Eyes White Dragon was a target he couldn't ignore. And to get it, Kaiba Corp was an obstacle he couldn't bypass. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is known as the strongest, the ultimate dragon. Conventional means wouldn't get him a Blue Eyes White Dragon. But isn't Blue Eyes White Dragon Kaiba's soul card? No way he'd give that as a prize. Selena raised her hand and asked curiously. Yeah. That's true, Hikaru. Remember, Kaiba met Yugi Muto because of Blue Eyes White Dragon, starting his duelist path. To him, even the Egyptian gods come second to Blue Eyes. There's nothing more important to him. I've heard the legends about Kaiba and that card. You're overthinking it, Hikaru said casually. First of all, remember? During the Friendship Cup in the S Dimension, Kaiba used Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon, which is treated as Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field. That's true. Bastion recalled when he was alone in the Fusion Club, eating chips while watching Hikaru's duels against duelists from other dimensions during the S Dimension arc. A bit bittersweet. But the memory was vivid. So, besides alternative, there should be other cards treated as Blue Eyes White Dragon. If the prize is one of those, then it's possible, Bastion reasoned. He'd never heard of a Blue Eyes dimension. Though he could bet Kaiba Corp definitely found one. And absolutely kept it hidden from everyone else. Bastion firmly believed that Kaiba would do exactly that. Actually, there's another possibility. Hikaru sipped his tea and continued. Bastion, remember what Chaz said before? Kaiba Corp once found traces of Dark Magician in the X dimension. And not just Dark Magician relics, Hikaru added, but also Blue Eyes White Dragon relics. I confirmed that with him later. So really, Blue Eyes White Dragon cards aren't unique across all dimensions. If I do manage to become champion, I'll apply to Kaiba Corp for the chance to visit a dimension where Blue Eyes White Dragons might exist. His 2 companions each had their own reactions. Right. That's also an option. Bastion clenched his fist. Right. If that's the case. He suddenly had a spark of realization. Yes. If so, he could visit other dimensions, go to the XYZ dimension, the spirit world, explore possibilities across dimensions. A career that could realize his idea while keeping his duelist identity intact. But after the thought flashed by, he couldn't dwell on it. Graduation was still a ways off. I see. Understood. Marjoram, after her initial shock, smiled softly in understanding. Then the topic shifted away as if it had never been discussed. Tiara chewed on her cake indifferently, showing zero interest in the following conversation. To be honest, the cake tasted mediocre. She was only eating it out of curiosity. Tiara didn't need food. Or rather, food replenished so little energy for her that watching Hikaru duel gave her far more. She liked eating instant fusion simply because it was genuinely tasty, like humans snacking on chips while watching TV. After sampling too many Aromage cakes, she lost interest and started observing Marjoram. She could tell. Marjoram's body might be here, but her mind was already elsewhere. That's for sure. In fact, spirits collaborating with Kaiba Corp, like several of the 12-star duelists, had another role besides being duel examiners. They were also Kaiba's testers. Seto Kaiba had decided to host the largest interdimensional duelist tournament ever, to crown the strongest duelist across all worlds. But choosing competitors was a huge task. Kaiba had already noticed there were many interesting students at Duel Academy. So, outside the official tournaments, he entrusted spirits with observation. After all, there was no better way to assess a duelist's heart than through spirit observation. After Hikaru's group left, even Marjoram, who had only been gardening and helping stray spirits here, felt stirred. As soon as they were gone, she quickly documented the entire day's events and sent the report to Critical Nexus Dimension Kaibacorp HQ using Kaibacorp's equipment. Half an hour later. In the southern part of the Critical Nexus Dimension, near a massive hot spring area known as the Mind Liberation Zone, a strange person with a mask and an upturned smile strolled briskly along the hot spring corridor, inspecting the surroundings. Not long after, a beeping sound came from his wrist. He glanced at his left hand. There, a silver-winged communicator. Pressing it lightly, a holographic image popped up in front of him. It was a letter. He skimmed through it. Oh. Interesting. Looking at Hikaru's photo, he muttered again. That student. Among all the students he'd observed, this one had the most potential. Arrogance or confidence? Recently, those annoying Society of Light people had been stirring in this dimension, perfect timing for a test. He pulled a phone from his inner pocket and made a call. Reroute the train paths within the Critical Nexus Dimension immediately. I want you all to. Chapter 282, The Final Stage of Alchemy. After leaving the forest zone, the three spirits assisting Hikaru's group could no longer accompany them. Relations between spirits from different zones weren't exactly friendly. Healing zones like this, where you could seek recovery from the Aromages as long as you didn't cause trouble, were rare in the Critical Nexus. So the spirits could only wait outside the area for Hikaru and the others. Not that it mattered much, once you reached the zone border, you could board a Kaiba Corp train to other regions. Hikaru didn't keep them waiting. He told them to head back to the night zone. Meanwhile, he and the others boarded a Kaiba Corp train. This area's undergoing renovations soon. You students can stay at the local base for a while, a Kaiba Corp staff member informed them when they tried to head elsewhere. They were offered free dorms near the station, plus spare classrooms for study. Duelists could even wait at the station to ambush incoming mark-holding duelists and challenge them directly, saving travel time. With the tournament lasting half a year, Kaiba Corp had made all sorts of preparations. The station even had a large duel field ready. Since there was no rush, Hikaru discussed with his two companions and decided to stop at the forest station for a while, to review coursework and teach Selena alchemy. Selena was completely clueless about alchemy. After Professor Banner's passing, Duel Academy had stopped teaching it. But Hikaru felt it necessary for Selena to learn if she wanted to follow his path. After all, in this world, alchemy was a manifestation of fusion. Jaden, with his extreme alchemy talent, could use fusion to create countless new heroes. Hikaru could also use alchemy to custom create the low-level monsters he needed. Selena hadn't considered changing her deck. She wasn't firmly set on the fusion path, either. But being in it not sure what to do phase made it the perfect time for her to absorb new things. Hikaru kept the lesson simple: if she liked it, he'd teach more; if not, he wouldn't force her. Alchemy demanded talent. Surprisingly, Selena seemed to have some. Unlike Jaden's innate talent or Hikaru's integrative aptitude, Selena's gift wasn't strong but leaned toward reconciliation and coordination. An incomplete soul. Hikaru watched her and recalled what Tiara had told him earlier. Selena fiddled with an experiment, tapping a metal rod until it glowed green. Her face lit up in joy, and she excitedly looked at Hikaru, holding the result with trembling hands. Hikaru clapped and praised her sincerely. Her incomplete soul wasn't like Rex Raptor's issue. She simply had less soul mass than other humans. Though her strength far exceeded her peers, the amount was low. Hikaru understood. In the original story, Selena was one of Zark's fragments in the fusion dimension. As someone who could split souls and even worlds through cards, her talent was unquestionable. She'd just need time to fill the gaps. Unlike Hikaru or Jaden, she couldn't progress as efficiently. So teaching Selena alchemy was definitely the right call. Having lost her direction, with only Fusion Club seniors and dueling left, she finally showed curiosity toward something new. Why do these two things glow when mixed, Master? Having never seen such fun experiments growing up, always wandering or locked up studying duels, Selena's eyes sparkled with childlike curiosity. Ha! Alchemy's pretty magical, huh? Hikaru smiled and explained the principles, just like Professor Banner had taught him. While teaching, Hikaru also reflected on his own studies. After finishing the Dimensional Gate and its improvement, Hikaru wasn't about to put alchemy aside. He kept diving into the Emerald Book, never forgetting his goal of reaching the realm of the spellcasters. During this time, Hikaru had solved 2 more puzzles and reconnected with 2 of Professor Banner's old friends. Not Alistair, but still good progress. However, lately, Hikaru's research had hit another wall. This time's project was arguably the hardest yet, even tougher than mastering superpolymerization. The basics of alchemy were destruction and recreation, purification and deepening. Destruction and recreation, Hikaru had mastered that. Purification and deepening, he could do that in duels, too. But what he really wanted. Meanwhile, Selena started tinkering with a distillation experiment again. Taking advantage of the break, Hikaru reached into his waist pouch and pulled out 2 cards. Armityle the Chaos Phantom, and Raviel, Lord of Phantasms. Unlike the now fully stabilized Armityle, Raviel's card was cracked and lifeless. Maybe because of the Fusion Army's failure, Leo Akaba hadn't been able to nourish the sacred beasts' bodies. This replica card wasn't doing well either. Of course, that didn't matter to Hikaru. He hadn't forgotten. Armityle had been born from Urea, Hammon, and Selena's drawn hex-sealed fusion. That card held special meaning. Yes. No mistake. Hikaru's next goal was destruction, recreation, purification, deepening, to create an ultimate fusion card. Compared to his other experiments and projects, this alchemical task was entirely new territory. Because for Hikaru, every fusion monster was already gold. He hadn't even successfully crafted a fusion monster card yet. Ha! So this pursuit was practically making the Philosopher's Stone. In the end, he'd become the new wave alchemist that Fulma Talfos Alcest had mocked, chasing the Philosopher's Stone and ignoring the gold. He shook his head and put the cards away. This project was too difficult. His current alchemy knowledge, application, and performance had all reached their peak. With his Emerald Book, he could even alter his appearance via special alchemical means. There was almost no room for further growth. In other words, just like when observing D-Wheels before, his only path now was breaking through from other angles. Like teaching others, or seeing what other people's fusions looked like. Chapter 283, The Dimensional Adventurer Jaden's Journey to Protect Justice and Power. Critical Nexus West. Hurry up, Cyrus, Tyranno. Jaden, with his backpack slung over his shoulders, laughed as he bounded down the hillside in huge strides, completely unconcerned about the possibility of slipping. He was as energetic as ever. Wait up, Aniki. Despite Cyrus's desperate efforts to keep up with Jaden, his height and physical fitness just didn't allow for such earth-shattering movements. Cyrus, guess I'll go adventuring with Aniki first. Tyranno, seeing how useless Cyrus was being, burst into laughter, paying no mind to the fact that Cyrus was technically his senpai, and dashed off fast. A week ago, Jaden had found Tyranno and Cyrus. After witnessing Cyrus's duel against his own older brother, Jaden had been dragging both of them around on random escapades. They didn't go to any of the officially logged locations. Instead, they ran all over strange, random places. After all, chances to adventure in unfamiliar places were rare. Whether it was because Jaden was genuinely lucky or because he actually had some sort of plan, while running around all these weird spots, he even encountered a hidden duelist and managed to win, earning himself a fish emblem. In short, within just a single week, he had already secured one emblem, a very successful start to his adventure. And they still had a full half-year ahead. Of course, this kind of adventure came at a price. Namely, it was nowhere near as comfortable as sleeping at any of Kaiba Corp's official sites. But for someone like Jaden, who'd rather spend a whole day fishing when there were no duels to be had, and skip class while doing it, this was endlessly entertaining. Besides, after the recent incident with the Fusion Army, everyone's mood hadn't been great. This sort of adventure helped lift their spirits, so neither Tyranno nor Cyrus ever complained. They both wanted to run around carefree and wild, too. However, as they kept running, the smile on Jaden's face suddenly vanished. "Jaden, watch out," a voice whispered in his ear. "Yeah." Answering as he moved, Jaden broke out of his reckless downhill sprint, lunged forward with a powerful step, slammed his left foot down to brake, and swept his right hand sideways. In an instant shift of presence, he grabbed the approaching Tyranno and then snagged Cyrus, who was about to continue tumbling downhill. Because of the sudden change in momentum, his red school uniform flared like a trench coat, whipping in the wind. What's wrong, Aniki?" Cyrus gasped for air as he asked. "Aniki?" Tyranno was equally confused, looking at Jaden. One hand holding two people his age, Jaden's arm strength was astonishing, even to someone like Tyranno, who had dinosaur bones in his body. Jaden squinted, staring ahead. It appeared to be a small spirit village. Houses had been toppled, fires burned everywhere, and the cries of children mixed with grotesque laughter. "You two stay here." Jaden withdrew his hands, slung his bag over one shoulder, and spoke with a serious expression. "No way, Jaden." Cyrus immediately protested. "It looks super dangerous up there. How could we let you go alone?" "Yeah, Aniki. As your little brother, of course, I'm going with you." Jaden turned to look at the two of them. Jaden had many close friends. Of course, his closest bonds were with the big family that was the Fusion Club. But outside of that, Cyrus and Tyranno, who had both chosen to call him Aniki on their own, were also like real younger brothers to him. A few months ago, Jaden had experienced a spirit rampage and attack. During that time, Bastion Misawa had been injured by accident. Since then, Jaden had secretly been training himself. For someone who hated studying and would rather go fishing than attend class even when bored, it was something outsiders would have found unbelievable. Jaden was training in spirit power. That said, he had indeed trained. His physical abilities were already far beyond those of his peers, and with spirit amplification and self-discipline, he now had enough confidence to take on two obelisk blue guards at once. However, even with that kind of ability and confidence, did he have the power to protect others outside of battle? Hard to say. Still, he didn't hesitate long. Nor did he refuse. Without another word, he ran straight toward the besieged village. Even without knowing all the details, it was clear enough. This village was under attack by other spirits, who were taking delight in brutally tormenting and killing the spirits living here. There was no way he could stand by and do nothing. Reaching the village, he stretched out a hand to catch a spirit that had been sent flying. Glancing at the spirit, he said, "Can you hang on? Stay with me." Judging by appearance, it seemed to be Freed the Matchless General. Still breathing, the elderly spirit opened his mouth with great effort, struggling to speak. "The village was attacked, all my children, all slaughtered." Jaden's lips trembled. To protect the children, this elderly spirit had likely spent every last ounce of his strength and now collapsed into unconsciousness. Ha, where'd this meddling punk come from, daring to spoil my fun? A red-robed figure holding a staff lightly tapped it against his back while sizing up Jaden. Oh. A human. So you're one of those humans everyone's been talking about lately, huh? Back off. This has nothing to do with you humans. I'm not here to play house with kids. Why would you do something like this? Staring at the scene around him, hearing the cries of children, watching countless houses crumble, Jaden clenched his teeth, trembling as he asked. Bullying the weak, was that so fun to you? Why? The mage burst out laughing. Because it's fun, what other reason do I need? What? Killing these weak little spirits makes me stronger? As he spoke, the mage scratched his forehead excitedly. Dark black smoke began to billow from his body, and a curtain of light appeared behind him. Jaden's eyes widened. This was the same strange light that Chaz and Hikaru had been investigating earlier, wasn't it? Due to the dimensional invasion incident, Chaz and Hikaru had shared everything they knew and could say with the Fusion Club members. Because of that, Jaden had realized these strange lights might come from the same source as the one that had attacked him in Bastion back then. It was said that Leo Akaba himself also had this strange light. These lights drove people into a battle frenzy and a thirst for destruction. And through destruction, those possessed grew stronger. By the looks of it, this spirit was exactly the kind of guy attacking others just to become stronger. Jaden gently handed the unconscious freed the matchless general over to Tyranno, telling him to help him rest on the side. Then, without a word, he opened his backpack and pulled out a dual disc. Oh ho, a human warrior, huh? Flames flared more violently around the mage's body, with intense white light mixing into the fire, scorching the air. Interesting. If I take down one of you, I should gain even more power. This challenge I'll accept. As he spoke, countless serpentine flames rose from the ground, coiling around his left arm, gradually taking the form of a crimson dual disc. Jaden, LP, 4000. Legendary Flame Lord, LP, 4000. Chapter 284, Abandoned Card. My turn. Because the devastation around him was too jarring, Jaden didn't waste time thinking. He swiftly drew a card and launched into the duel, only hoping to end it quickly, take down the enemy in front of him, and save this village. Drawl. I activate the spell card, Convert Contact. When I have no monsters on my field, I can send one each of Neospatian monsters from my hand and deck to the graveyard. Then, I draw 2 cards. Without hesitation, he sent monsters he couldn't use right now to the graveyard. I send Neospatian Glow Moss from my hand and Neospatian Flare Scarab from my deck to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. He quickly drew and glanced at his 2 new cards, then slammed down a monster card. I normal summon in defense position Neospatian Air Hummingbird. Whoosh! Bright white wings spread wide, and a crimson birdman emerged from between them. Neospatian Air Hummingbird, Level 3 WIND Winged Beast 600 Def. This was the deck Jaden had received after his loss to Aster, a deck gifted to him by a voice he heard in space. The Neospatian series. These were the very cards he'd drawn as a kid and sent off during a Kaiba Corp event. When he was most lost, they returned to him as trusted companions. Air Hummingbird's effect. For each card in your hand, I recover 500 life points. Honey Absorption. Air Hummingbird soared forward, flying up to the legendary Flame Lord, its beak targeting the opponent's hand. The 5 cards in the Flame Lord's hand turned into 5 flowers, and just like a honeybee collecting nectar, Jaden's life points increased. Jaden, LP, 4,000-6,500. I set 2 cards face down and end my turn. Air Hummingbird, never seen such a strong monster before, the legendary Flame Lord sneered. Jaden didn't answer, his eyes fixed on his opponent. Come to think of it, we haven't agreed on a wager for this fight, have we? Whatever, take anything you want. Even my life, if that's what it takes. Jaden wasn't caught up in such things. Ha ha ha. Like I'd need that? The Flame Lord laughed maniacally. If you lose, your power will become mine anyway. His blood-red eyes scanned the surroundings. Ah, I just got a great idea. My turn. The Flame Lord drew a card. I activate the spell card, Spell Absorption. Spell Absorption? That card restored 500 life points each time either player activated a spell card. I normal summon Fire Princess. A Crimson Girl appeared on his field. Fire Princess, level 4 FIR Pyro 1300 ATK. Fire Princess? Bad news, bro. That monster deals 500 damage to the opponent every time the controller gains life points. Cyrus's textbook knowledge kicked in. What? Jaden stared cautiously at the monster, ready for a fiery assault. He'd dueled many spirits and fought through countless shadow duels. He had the experience to minimize his pain in battle. I activate the spell card, Pot of Greed. I draw 2 cards. The Flame Lord casually drew 2 cards. Thanks to the spell card activation, his life points increased as well. Legendary Flame Lord, LP, 4500. At the same time, Fire Princess's effect activated. The Crimson Woman Mage raised her staff, preparing to unleash flames upon Jaden. But before she could, the legendary Flame Lord raised his hand, ignited flames, and hurled them at a nearby house, blowing it apart. Jaden, LP, 6500. What the hell are you doing? Everyone present watched in disbelief. Ha 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 ha. The Flame Lord cackled wildly. I've decided, every time your life points drop, I'll destroy another piece of trash around here. Mommy. Wah. Even the surviving spirits, though they had escaped earlier, screamed at this sight. Bastard. Jaden clenched his teeth, glaring at his opponent. Tyranno. Cyrus, snapping out of it like he'd been shocked, put aside his grievances with Tyranno Hasselberry and shouted, "Let's hurry and save them." They had to get the spirits out from the collapsing houses and burning rubble first. Ah, struggle all you want. Why are you doing this? Why? The Flame Lord stared at Jaden, his sneer fading, slowly twisting into rage. Someone like you, with your brand new cards, how could you possibly understand the pain of beings like us? What? I need power, only power. Only with enough power will I never be abandoned. With enough power, no one will ever look down on me. He snarled viciously. He wasn't a native of the critical nexus. He was a dual monster spirit born from the human world. Once, he had been an outstanding high-level monster. A powerful level 7 ritual monster. But as new cards emerged, as new spirits appeared, he and other classics were gradually abandoned. Eventually, aimless and unwanted, he drifted into this dimension. Some time ago, he had been enveloped in the light's power, felt overwhelming strength, standing on par with regional leaders. That brief period had been a joyful time for him. But, after certain events, the light left him. Though he wasn't weakened, he could no longer grow as crazily strong as before. The thought that he, a relic card, would someday be discarded again filled him with terror and rage. I need to destroy more. I need more power. The Flame Lord looked at his hand, pulled out a card. I activate the ritual spell card, Incandescent Ordeal. I tribute Garnetia Elephantis from my hand to ritual summon. He spread his arms wide and roared like a madman, Eowa. Burn it all down. The flames surged violently, charring the land around him black as ink. Ritual summon, myself. Legendary Flame Lord, level 7 FIR Spellcaster 2400 ATK. At the same time. Legendary Flame Lord, LP, 4500 5000. Jaden, LP, 5500. Flames burst forth from his body like meteors, crashing into the surroundings, one landing right beside Cyrus Truesdale. Though Cyrus had a target, his physical condition wasn't as strong as those Fusion Club-trained fighters. Blown away by the impact, he still managed to shield a spirit in his arms, saving it from disaster at the last second. Cyrus! Jaden shouted in alarm. I'm fine, bro. Keep dueling. Cyrus struggled to his feet, comforting the spirit in his arms, then turned back to flash a smile at his brother. Cyrus. Jaden took a deep breath. Seeing Tyranno helping evacuate a whole group of spirits as well, both of them shielding the spirits behind them, Jaden finally felt a bit of relief. Now he could focus on the duel. TCH. The Flame Lord grunted. Then let's battle. Chapter 285, Unable to Let Go of Hatred. Fire Princess destroyed Air Hummingbird in battle. Then, the Flame Lord picked up a small dagger from his left side. It ignited in flame, appearing right in front of Jaden, and before Jaden could react, the dagger pierced straight through his body. GUH. Skewered by the flaming knife, Jaden's vision briefly went black. It took him a long while to regain focus. Jaden, LP, 5500 3100. But it wasn't over yet. With a burst of sparks, countless meteors rained down nearby. Though there were no more spirits hiding there, the houses and farmlands were engulfed in flames, collapsing into ash before Jaden's eyes. Ah! The pain of this devastation was far worse than any physical wound. I set one card face down and end my turn. The Flame Lord laughed wildly. Damn it! Jaden gritted his teeth. I activate my trap card. Next. This card lets me special summon any number of Neospatian or Elemental Hero Neos monsters from my hand or graveyard in defense position. Their effects are negated. As long as those monsters remain on the field, I can't special summon non-fusion monsters from my extra deck. I special summon Neospatian Flare Scarab, Neospatian Glowmoss, and Neospatian Air Hummingbird from my graveyard. A card that special summons 3 monsters at once. How wonderful, truly wonderful. Jaden forced himself to stand up. Wake up, Flame Lord. He drew a card from his deck. Even if they're old cards, even without power, there are still people who love them, just like I love my elemental heroes. In this duel, Jaden understood his opponent's pain. He even had the heart to try persuading him. But the Flame Lord had no intention of listening, only laughing maniacally at Jaden. TCH. Jaden clenched his teeth. I activate the spell card, Space Gift. For each differently named Neospatian on my field, I draw one card. He had 3 different ones on the field. So he drew 3 cards. And at the same time, thanks to Fire Princess and Spell Absorption's effects, you'll suffer too. Legendary Flame Lord, LP, 5500. Jaden, LP, 3100 2600. Also, each time either of us activates a spell card, I get to place a spell counter on myself. A strange, circular magical orb formed next to the Flame Lord. After drawing, Jaden looked at the cards in his hand. At this point, talking wasn't going to calm this spirit down. I tribute Air Hummingbird and Flare Scarab from my field to tribute summon Elemental Hero Neos. A point of light ignited before Jaden, and from the darkness of space emerged a strong, shining figure in white. Elemental Hero Neos, Level 7 Light Warrior 2500 ATK. Next, Contact Fusion. Jaden picked up Neos and Glowmoss from his duel disk and returned them to his deck. Neos confused with Neospatians without polymerization. Contact Fusion. Come forth, Elemental Hero Blow Neos. The already bright Neos changed form, taking up a radiant lance, aiming it at the opponent. Elemental Hero Blow Neos, Level 7 Light Warrior 2500 ATK. So bright. Tyranno shielded his eyes with his arm. Ugh, what a disgusting new monster, the Flame Lord spat bitterly. The light radiated from him as well, dark, heavy smoke billowed from his body, making him appear ominous and grim. Blow Neos effect. Once per turn, I can destroy one face-up card you control, then gain an additional effect based on the type of card destroyed. I choose to destroy your spell absorption. Blow Neos gripped his glowing spear, aimed at the spell card, and hurled it. With a sizzle, it pierced straight through. TCH. With that, the continuous burn damage strategy was over. Next, I activate the field spell, Neospace. A vibrant, rainbow-colored ring lit up behind Jaden, spinning constantly. As long as this card remains on the field, Neos and Neos fusion monsters don't have to return to the deck, and Neos and his fusion forms gain 500 attack points. Elemental Hero Blow Neos, ATK, 2500-3000. But that also lets me place a second spell counter. Another black orb floated beside the Flame Lord. Glow Neos, attack. Jaden aimed at a monster, deliberately not triggering Glow Neos' other effect. Not a chance. I activate the continuous trap card, Spellbinding Circle. I choose one of your monsters. That monster can't attack or change its battle position. A huge hexagram enveloped Glow Neos. Jaden glanced at Neos, then at his hand, hesitated, and spoke again. Stop this, Flame Lord. You're a powerful spirit. Why must you destroy other spirits just to gain strength? I've got nothing to say to someone who uses brand new cards like you. Neos has been my friend since I was a kid. Always has been. Really? Is that true? For a moment, a hint of struggle flashed across the Flame Lord's face. Bathed in light, one eye glared at Jaden while the other wavered with conflict. Dual spirits could sense a duelist's heart. Especially during a duel, it was clear to him that Jaden had never abandoned his elemental heroes. And elemental heroes, in the human world, were considered a very old, even overplayed deck. Of course. Is that so? Really? Suddenly, the light around the Flame Lord swelled rapidly. What had been a human-sized glow now covered the entire village. Flame Lord? Jaden cried out in shock. A voice whispered incessantly in the Flame Lord's ear. Don't believe him. Even if you give up now, one day he'll abandon you too. Elemental heroes? Someone using a never-before-seen Neospatian series, how can you trust him? Yes. You mustn't trust this human. Destruction, ruin, power, that's all you can trust. My turn. Jaden froze. I activate the spell card, Gather Your Mind. I add another Gather Your Mind from my deck to my hand. Now I can gather 3 spell counters. I activate my own effect, destroy every other monster on the field except myself. Flames surged from his body. Distrust, abandonment, a crazed thirst for destruction, and above all, unbearable pain with no turning back, the spirit had gone berserk. Fire Princess beside him was instantly reduced to ash. Wild flames soared high. Amid his maniacal laughter, the entire sky ignited. The whole village was swallowed by the sea of fire, leaving almost nothing untouched. Our village. One spirit collapsed to their knees at the sight. Everything they had. All of it, burned to nothing. Glow Neos, engulfed in flames, flashed before Jaden, raising its body silently to shield him, blocking the raging inferno. Jaden drew in a deep breath. No matter how pitiful you are, that doesn't excuse this. I don't care anymore. The Flame Lord roared. You're finished. Shrieking, he charged through the flames toward Jaden, stabbing through him again. Jaden, LP, 2600-200. Chapter 286, The End of Life. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. The Flame Lord laughed maniacally. But Jaden could sense the pain beneath that laughter. He wasn't so injured that he couldn't stand anymore. In fact, he stood up quickly. Golden light flickered in his eyes. No matter the reason. No matter how pitiful it might be. There was no excuse for attacking and invading those weaker than oneself. Whether it was Leo Akaba or the legendary Flame Lord before him, it wasn't acceptable. Leo Akaba acted out of self-interest. The Flame Lord, perhaps, was only lashing out from personal pain. Regardless, taking joy in slaughter and destruction, that was something Jaden would never condone. I'll defeat you this turn. Defeat me? You, with your flickering candle of life points? The legendary Flame Lord burst out laughing again. My turn. Droll Jaden didn't say much more. The reason was simple. He was confident. I activate the spell card, Polymerization. Jaden revealed two monsters from his hand. I fuse Elemental Hero Bubbleman and Neospacian Aqua Dolphin from my hand. This hero will send chills down your spine. Fusion Summon. My hero, level 8, Elemental Hero Absolute Zero. Whoosh. A pure white figure appeared on the field, this time not glowing moss, but cold, solid ice. A frigid hero landed with the textbook hero arrival pose on Jaden's field. Elemental Hero Absolute Zero, level 8 Water Warrior 2500 ATK. Never seen that monster before. The Flame Lord's expression darkened. Its attack was already higher than his. I'm not done yet. Jaden continued, now I'll show you a powerful fusion tactic I learned from Hikaru. Spell card, Neos Fusion. Jaden activated his next card. This lets me send fusion materials from my hand, deck, or field to the graveyard for a fusion summon, using two monsters that include Elemental Hero Neos, ignoring summoning conditions. After this resolves, I can't special summon again this turn. What egg fusion? The Flame Lord gritted his teeth. Fusion became even easier. What chance did a ritual monster like him have now? I send Elemental Hero Neos and Neospacian Grand Mole from my deck to the graveyard. Special summon, the Earth attribute Neos, Elemental Hero Grand Neos. Unlike Glow Neos, this new Neos looked far bulkier, with a massive drill replacing his right arm's lance. Elemental Hero Grand Neos, level 7 Earth Warrior 2500 ATK. Thanks to Neospace's effect, his attack rose from 2500 to 3000. Damn it, breaking 3000 attack again, and so easily. The Flame Lord grumbled. Jaden glanced at his face-down card. It was Hero Blast. A trap that could retrieve an Elemental Hero normal monster and destroy an opponent's monster with a lower attack. Right now, if he recovered Neos, he could destroy the Flame Lord outright. However, Grand Neos effect, once per turn, I can return one monster on your field to your hand. Nebula Vacuum. Grand Neos raised his drill, aimed at the Flame Lord, and with a sucking force, returned him to his starting point. Unbelievable. The Flame Lord's expression turned even uglier. Just two monsters, yet Jaden had stacked up 5,500 attack points with ease. He had pushed himself to 2,400 with everything he had, but now, just 4 cards later, Jaden had flipped the duel. Jaden slowly exhaled. Truth be told, this opponent wasn't that strong. Compared to the Shadow Riders he met in this dimension, or even his previous dimension travels, the Flame Lord wasn't that dangerous. And yet, Jaden felt stifled inside. Battle. Yet, no matter what, he had to win. His two loyal spirits nodded, charged forward, and with 2 attacks, reduced the Flame Lord's life points to 0. From just 200 LP remaining before, now Jaden stood with 5,500 LP. Why? Why had this happened? The legendary Flame Lord writhed in agony. It's over, Flame Lord. I won. Jaden turned. Now tell me, why did you attack this place? And, you need to make amends. Amends? The Flame Lord froze, then laughed. Ha 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 ha. Flame Lord? As Jaden and all the humans and spirits present watched in shock, the surrounding light condensed onto him. At the same time, black smoke began pouring from his body. Then, raging flames burst from the ground. Flame Lord! What are you doing? Jaden, who had been about to check on the spirits, rushed toward him, trying to stop him. Bro! Stay back! Tyranno and Cyrus quickly held Jaden back. Ha 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 ha. The Flame Lord opened his eyes, falling to his knees, powerless. In his final moments, he saw his former home, the slaughter he'd caused in this dimension, and a pitch-black silhouette. The flames burned everything away. Tyranno and Cyrus finally released Jaden. Jaden stumbled forward, dropped to his knees as if collapsing, and reached out to the single remaining card. A card, burnt down to just a third, barely recognizable. The legendary Flame Lord. I never wanted you to die. Jaden whispered in pain. It was complete death now. He looked around. The spirit village, forget prosperity, there weren't even a few intact beams left. The entire village lay in blackened ruin, as barren as a wasteland. Standing at the village center, Jaden felt the world mock him. He gripped the card tightly. Jaden, wait for me. A swirl of black energy dissipated from the card. Jaden whipped around, but saw nothing. In the end, he could only accept Cyrus and Tyranno's silent support as they helped him up. Wordlessly, he tucked the charred remains of the card into his chest. That black mist. That light curtain. And that voice. Was it all coming for him? Jaden didn't know. He turned to look at the spirits. At least he had saved them. Fortunately, none of the spirits were petty enough to say, "Why didn't you protect our home," or "Why didn't you just let him win and leave happy?" Afterward, Jaden and the others were treated like heroes. The spirits, unfamiliar with welcoming guests, were overjoyed at their arrival and promptly let go of their pain. They had nothing to offer Jaden and the others, but as long as they lived, they still had hope. After all, dual spirits lived long lives. Ironically, their gratitude only made Jaden feel more conflicted inside. He hadn't done his best. Maybe he should have gone all out from the start? Maybe he shouldn't have spent 2 days fishing halfway through, and could have reached the village before the Flame Lord arrived. Maybe. With all these thoughts swirling, Jaden decided to stay and help rebuild the village before moving on. Meanwhile, looks like we can finally travel again? Hikaru stood at the train station, asking curiously. That's right. A Kaiba Corp employee nodded. Starting tomorrow, this station will reopen. Students may choose between direct routes to the rainforest or the volcano zone. The rainforest or the volcano. Chapter 287, Discovery of the Volcanic Region. Since there was still plenty of time, and they could experience sights in the spirit world they would never encounter in daily life, Amaki Hikaru and the others didn't even need to think about it. Whether it was the volcano or the rainforest, they were going to visit both. The only question was whether to hit the volcano first or the rainforest first. Bastion and Selena had no objections, so Hikaru decided to go to the volcano zone first. After all, in the rainforest, there was always the chance they'd run into something like Amazonas cards, and if that happened, Bastion might never leave. Better to prepare properly and tackle the volcano first. Leaving the forest zone behind, the world outside changed in an instant, like switching stages in a fighting game. The lush greens were gone, and when looking out from the train, the land outside was dyed a deep red. Some spirits wreathed in flames paused, watching the train go by, curiously eyeing the humans. A few even jumped or spun in place, visibly excited by the appearance of humans. Hikaru tugged at his collar a little. He wasn't really sensitive to heat. As someone who had once been dragged into a volcano by darkness for a duel, Hikaru had genuinely experienced volcanic temperatures. This heat wasn't enough to make him uncomfortable, but the sudden temperature shift did make anyone irritable. Even Hikaru wasn't immune to that. Oh, so it's this volcano. Tiara sat sideways on the train's table, crossing her legs lightly, resting her elbow on her knee, and her right hand against her head as she gazed outside. You know this place, Winda? Selena asked curiously. As Hikaru's student, she certainly knew that Winda held an extraordinary position in Hikaru's life. In normal duels, Winda had the rare privilege among spirits to influence Hikaru's tactics and decision-making, and sometimes, she even took over and dueled herself. For any other duelist, that would be nearly impossible. No matter how close a duelist and their spirit were, the duel was still the duelist's responsibility. But with Hikaru, Winda held that kind of status. Bastion, on the other hand, stayed silent. In fact, it was exactly Hikaru and Winda's relationship that made him frequently think of the spirit who had once tried to steal the sacred beasts during the Shadow Rider crisis. Of course I know it, Winda said easily when she heard Selena ask. She clicked her tongue in wonder, sounding a little nostalgic. This is the Jurak volcano. But by the time I was revived, this volcano had already gone dormant. The dinosaurs had long since died out, so they never saw me. She lifted her cheek-resting hand and gestured outward. When Hikaru dueled that dinosaur human last time, I thought that monster looked familiar. Later, I remembered why. Though they were insignificant carbon-based lifeforms, she did remember them as fellow members of the DT planet back then. As a god, after all, she hadn't forgotten. But the key point was the terrain. Compared to the dinosaurs, the terrain was far clearer in her memory. I see. So this is a fragment of the Jurassic part of the spirit world, Hikaru lightly nodded at Winda's words. He remembered the field spelled Jurac volcano, but there was no way he could know what the actual volcano looked like. Hearing her say this, he finally understood. If that was the case, then the plan to search for DT Spirit World remnants could resume. After all, this place was part of the DT Spirit World that had been lost. Almost as soon as Hikaru had that thought, Tiara straightened slightly, stretched her left hand toward the train window, passed it through the glass, and touched the air outside. With her motion, blue flames rose from her palm. Then, from within the flames, 3 pitch-black test tubes slowly emerged. As the 3 tubes ignited, a silver-white mechanical demon formed in the outside world and was loaded with the 3 canisters. VMMM. The lifeless demon's eyes glowed crimson, and it moved its limbs, breaking free from the blue fire and flying from Tiara's palm. Next came expansion, and more expansion. A demon that had been palm-sized just moments ago grew into a 4 to 5 meter tall terrifying behemoth. Just the light flap of its wings carried an almost suffocating heat. Hikaru watched without stopping her. What monster is that? Bastion asked curiously. Harmatic, Hikaru answered casually. The style's totally the same as that small demon she summoned before. Selena still remembered the Permise Tiara had summoned. Though both monsters had similar appearances, the difference in aura was obvious. Weird. Masters never used this one before. I'm not worthy yet, Hikaru lied. She wouldn't give me all her power so easily. She even has hidden powers. Bastion eyed Tiara. She can already lock down special summons, and now she has hidden power too? Though not boasting high attack points, Winda had left a deep mark in Bastion's mind. As long as she was on the field, both players were limited to 1 special summon each. At first glance, that didn't seem too bad in this world, but with just a bit of support, say, something like Book of Moon, it essentially became a full special summon lockdown. More importantly, even if Winda was destroyed, she could recycle Shad Doll spell cards to continue fusion summoning. Perfectly suited to Hikaru's fusion-based strategy. But, to think that Spirit still had unused, hidden powers? Bastion couldn't help but overthink it. Meanwhile, Hikaru knew exactly what Tiara was doing. After collecting Permise, Antra, and now Harmatic, Tiara had regained considerable power. Though for her, it was still a drop in the bucket, she could now do things no ordinary spirit could imagine. Previously, the infernoid demons Tiara summoned could only operate near her. Now, she could deploy low-tier soldiers to scout freely. And now that this area was confirmed to be connected to DT, Tiara figured, since Hikaru was going to investigate anyway, she might as well send her soldiers to gather data first. After some time on the train, they arrived in the evening. Hikaru's group rested overnight at Kaibacorp's station stop, and the next day, as scheduled, they reached the 12-star duelist section of the volcano zone. Unlike the forest zone, the 12-star duelists here weren't spirits but Kaibacorp employed certified examiners. Around the arena, there were many human-run shops and GG boards. Most of the GG boards weren't even switched on, their displays left blank. The duelist hall resembled a giant museum-style duel field. As soon as the 3 entered, they heard a half-hearted shout, Jurac Tyrannus, direct attack. Wah! Then, they watched a blue-uniformed student go flying and crash to the ground. Kid, no matter how often you show up, your lousy dueling won't pass. Try again next time. A slouching young man, hands in pockets, looking sickly and tired, emerged from inside, just in time to spot Hikaru's group. Ah! It's you guys. It was Rex Raptor. Chapter 288, El Shaddol Construct. Hikaru hadn't expected Rex Raptor to show up here. But after seeing him, it started to make sense. It was only natural. Given Rex Raptor's current strength, he was more than qualified to serve as a proctor. Rex Raptor was also happy to sit down and chat with Hikaru for a bit, treating it as a break from work. While he was hospitalized, Kaiba Corp had approached him, asking if he'd be interested in appearing as one of the 12-star duelists for the event. Having decided to completely sever ties with his past, Rex Raptor had gladly accepted the offer. His star level was 9. Extremely high. According to the GX tournament rules, during regular stamp acquisition, stamps from the same star level only counted once. So to collect 8 stamps, duelists needed 8 different star levels from the 12-star duelists, or approval from hidden duelists. It was a built-in elimination mechanism. Otherwise, if anyone could just get 8 stamps and enter the finals would drag on for years. Kaiba Corp had reviewed Rex Raptor's duels against Hikaru and Weevil Underwood and evaluated his current strength, assigning him a 9-star rating. Because of this high rating, many duelists who were confident, or perhaps overconfident in their abilities came to challenge him. As mentioned before, winning wasn't necessary to get a stamp, just recognition. Yet, in the past 2 weeks, not a single person had earned Rex Raptor's approval. The reason was simple. Too arrogant. Too full of themselves. Without even mastering the basics, they aimed too high, trying to defeat a legendary duelist like him just to make a name for themselves. It was laughable. He didn't mind students being naive, but he had no tolerance for those who challenged him out of sheer ego. That was the thing he hated most. However, seeing Hikaru brightened his mood considerably, wiping away 2 weeks' worth of pent-up irritation. You saw those GG boards outside, right? Rex shoved both hands in his pockets, hunching over as he spoke to Hikaru. The company is going to promote your duels here. Question mark. Even though some bad rumors are floating around, the company will continue to support you. He didn't waste time on unnecessary words and went straight to the point. Not only that, he flipped the switch for the duel field, lighting up the entire street. Instantly, promotional messages and GG boards about Hikaru filled the area, startling passers-by to the point some nearly tripped. Whether for profit, future considerations, long-term planning, or simple trust in a talented student who had helped the company in the past, Funlo Corp would back Hikaru, no matter the public opinion. I understand. True trust didn't need repeated assurances. Just those few words were enough to make Hikaru feel grateful toward Rex Raptor. Even if the GG boards were a bit cringe, he was genuinely touched. Naturally, Rex didn't bother dueling Hikaru. He simply took Hikaru's badge, stamped it, and handed it back. He couldn't be bothered with pretentious formality. As the proctor, his word was final. And Hikaru's dueling skills? Rex had seen enough to know. Pass. However, Bastion and Selena wouldn't have it so easy. Without showing real skill or conviction that earned his approval, there was no way he'd stamp their badges. And so, Hikaru easily collected 3 stamps within just a few days, each from duelists of considerable rank. As for Selena and Bastion Misawa, too bad. Neither of them left a good impression on Rex. After just 1 duel each, he waved them off and told Hikaru to go do whatever he needed. You 2 brats can't even get your own duels sorted out. Go back and learn your times tables, he shouted at them impatiently. In a daze, the 2 followed Hikaru out of the duel field. Seeing their state, Hikaru figured it would be a while before either of them earned Rex's recognition. Maybe even winning wouldn't be enough for them to get his stamp. Even so, it didn't matter. Tiara still needed time to gather information anyway. 3 stamps in just 1 week, Hikaru felt no rush. 3 already? That was fast. At the critical Nexus Dimension's starting point. At first, driven by the principal's tearful send-off and curiosity about another dimension, most students had enthusiastically set out on adventures here. Yet, after finishing their initial expeditions, many now hold up at the start point, determined not to leave even if it meant failing every subject. Thus, the starting area still had plenty of student dormitories and rooms in use. Among them were some special cases. Those with skills, but no desire to leave. In a pre-built fortune-telling tent, Sartorius flipped through tarot cards, murmuring to himself. Even starting nearly a week late in this dimension, to catch up to the current top stamp total in such a short time. That's true duelist talent. Don't ask how the stamps were earned. What mattered was that they were. A duelist's ability wasn't just in dueling. Social skills, understanding of cards, and understanding of spirits, all important factors. Knock, knock, knock. The tent door was tapped. Master Sartorius. Sartorius said nothing, waiting for the speaker to continue. The person you designated has arrived at the volcano zone. Destiny has already informed me, Sartorius said, turning over another tarot card. The death card appeared before him. A wide grin spread across his face. The Wheel of Fortune for Hikaru had already told him everything he needed to know. Now then, see for yourself. The person behind the curtain stepped out slowly, respectfully placing a card on the table. Sartorius' smile grew even more radiant and satisfied. Well done. It was a purple card. A fusion monster. The artwork showed a giant with arms outstretched like a saint, while nearby, a small sorcerer lifted their staff, manipulating it with countless purple puppet strings. El Shaddai Construct. After Leo Akaba's failed invasion of the X-Dimension, he had swiftly abandoned most of his bases, cutting his losses to preserve his remaining foothold. Though how that guy had slipped out from Sartorius' grasp on Destiny was unknown, it didn't matter. As expected, Sartorius picked up the card. Leo Akaba had seen El Shaddai Winda before and was well aware of the dark power sealed in it. Upon divining that Hikaru possessed some strange power, Sartorius immediately thought of exploiting this to counter him. He had then dispatched all Society of Light members to scour Leo Akaba's remaining bases, relying on his understanding of Destiny to locate the card. And sure enough, a light attribute Shaddai. A perfect vessel. He could even guess Leo Akaba's thought process: since Hikaru relied on dark Shaddais, then a light Shaddai should be able to counter him. So Leo had poured vast resources and manpower into acquiring this card. And now, everything, just as Destiny foretold. Leo Akaba's entire effort had become Sartorius' wedding gown, a stepping stone for destroying dimensions. Such was the guidance of fate. Next, Sartorius picked up the Death Tarot card. Black smoke writhed across the card's surface. It was time to see what Destiny would reveal next. Chapter 289, Unfamiliar Peers. Bastion and Selena had no hope of earning Rex Raptor's approval anytime soon. After spending some time in the area, once Hikaru had gathered enough information, they planned to head back to the forest zone together, then move on to the rainforest zone. After all, with 6 months to find answers, there was no need to stubbornly stay in one place. Though just as they were preparing to leave, they realized they couldn't. Not because Kaiba Corp's equipment was down again, but because something was causing a commotion at the station gates. Direct attack by White Knight Queen. Gwaa! A student went flying and crashed onto the ground. What is going on? Hikaru instinctively moved toward the fallen student to help. Abruptly, before he could, a group of people in white uniforms walked over. Society of Light, Bastion said, frowning. As agreed, we're taking your badge. Wait, no. The fallen student came to his senses and tried to resist, but how could one person stand against 3 or 4 of their peers? They easily snatched the GX badge from his chest. Hikaru and the others watched but said nothing. Because this was part of the tournament process and rules. They had no grounds to interfere. That was how the GX tournament worked. Damn it! Damn it! The student pounded the ground with his right hand, sobbing in frustration. Hikaru noticed that the student's badge had 2 stamps, meaning he was actually quite capable. Actually, any student who had made it to the volcano zone by now was likely a confident duelist. Even if they hadn't earned Rex Raptor's approval, they would at least have one stamp. These weren't like the guys clinging around Marjoram back in the forest zone, these were duelists actively challenging strong opponents. Hikaru glanced around. Many students wore expressions of anger, which piqued his curiosity. He'd spent the past few days holed up in the lab or watching duels at Rex Raptor's exhibition area with Bastion, so he wasn't fully aware of the situation here. "What's going on, Shikawa?" Hikaru called out to a somewhat familiar classmate. The student frowned at first when he saw Hikaru, but the reaction quickly faded. Most students who knew Hikaru personally understood what kind of person he was and had witnessed his duels against the Polymerization Club firsthand. They wouldn't believe the gossip. After a moment of hesitation, the student explained the situation to Hikaru. The Society of Light Duelists had surrounded the area, blocking the station gate, preventing anyone from leaving. Anyone who wanted to leave had to duel them. If you lost, you handed over your badge. If you won, you got their badge and could leave. In the past 2 days, they'd collected 7 or 8 badges this way. But what infuriated everyone was that, because stamps from the same star level only counted once, even with 7 or 8 badges, the stamps were mostly duplicates. Yet they still refused to leave, clearly just trying to fail as many students as possible. Because of that, some students who couldn't stand their actions had challenged them. Not just students from the main academy, but plenty from the branch campuses too. The result, more and more losses, and now friends of those students were coming over seeking revenge. As for the Society of Light Duelists, they welcomed all comers. "Damn it, who is this guy? Never even heard of him, why is he so strong?" "Never heard of him? Some transfer student?" "No, he's from our academy." "Wait, what?" Hikaru was surprised. A powerhouse from the main academy that he didn't know? Silver Meteor? Princess Rose? Hikaru shot a look toward the gate. Nope, this duelist was a complete stranger. Wearing a spotless obelisk blue uniform, looking lifeless, with dark circles under both eyes, and strange black tattoos running down his right arm. "Who is this then?" "Same year as us," Bastion suddenly spoke up. "I remember him. Obelisk Blue. Not in our class, though, so I don't know him well." "A duelist of this caliber, same year?" "Ah, it's Amaji Hikaru," one of the Society of Light Duelists noticed him. "Just as Master Sartorius foretold, I've been waiting for you here, Amaki Hikaru. As destiny revealed. I waited here, and you appeared." The duelist struggled to stand, with help from several others. "So, Sartorius orders?" "Well, that made sense." "Who? Amaki Hikaru? He's here too? Whoa, look at that badge, he's already got a Volcano Zone stamp." As expected of Hikaru. Students around them noticed him, too. Some students from the branch campuses weren't that familiar with Hikaru, but upon seeing him, they realized something exciting was about to happen. The student with the pile of badges held them up. "If you win, I'll return everyone's badges. Also, you're missing 3-star and 4-star stamps, right? I have those." He picked up his badge. "If you beat me, you can instantly get 5 stamps. Then you can spend the rest of the semester doing whatever you want in this dimension." Though it didn't directly concern him, Bastion couldn't help commenting, "Hikaru, sounds like a good deal." From Bastion's perspective, Hikaru's reputation had taken a hit because of the Fusion Army incident. Getting an invite to a duel like this was definitely worth considering. Plus, grabbing a 3-star and 4-star badge outright was a huge benefit for someone like Hikaru, who was bound for the finals. "Hikaru! Please, I beg you, help me get my badge back." A classmate from RA Yellow grabbed Hikaru's hand. Hikaru glanced at him. "Relax. Even for my own sake, I have to beat this guy." Hikaru wasn't about to walk back to the forest zone on foot. "Also, since I'm dueling someone as famous as you, just offering these terms isn't enough," the duelist added. "If you lose, you join the Society of Light. You're adding extra conditions now? In return, if I lose, I have a card prepared by Master Sartorius himself. He held up a card, not showing it, but said, "It's a fusion monster you don't have." "Looks like Sartorius really thinks highly of you, Hikaru," Bastion quipped. "Ha ha, what's wrong, Bastion? Jealous? Don't envy me too much." Ha ha ha. Hikaru wasn't too concerned. After all, he'd already been challenged by Pro Duelist X before. A duel with the Society of Light didn't faze him at all. Last time, Sartorius had even provided that crucial intel on Raviel. He was curious what Sartorius had prepared this time. "Alright then, let's duel." The two of them stood at opposite ends of the station gate, set their duel discs, and shouted in unison. Duel, X2. Koharu Haruki, LP, 4000. Amaji Hikaru, LP, 4000. Chapter 290, Death Card. My turn. It was Haruki's turn. He placed his right hand atop his deck but didn't immediately draw. Hikaru was curious. This Society of Light duelist, someone who hadn't appeared in the original series, a classmate from the same year that he had absolutely no memory of, what kind of deck did this guy use? Against you, a normal duel won't cut it. Haruki's hand remained hovering over his deck. You're a powerful duelist, a fusion genius. Even with a deck full of fusions, you duel with perfect fluidity. If I'm going to face you, I have to go all out. Oh? Hikaru's curiosity deepened. As if responding to that curiosity, a strange black mist began swirling in the station. Under everyone's gaze, a black skull emblem slowly surfaced on the back of Haruki's right hand, spreading like a tattoo. So those weren't tattoos after all? Before anyone could process it, ominous black smoke billowed from the skull, coiling around the area. It gradually formed into a massive, cloaked skeleton, a classic, old-school Grim Reaper straight out of Castlevania. What the heck? Bastion, who had thought this was just a normal duel, exclaimed. What's happening? Several students screamed and fled at the sight of the eerie smoke and that terrifying Reaper. The death card? Hikaru paused for a moment, recalling the card. Yes, Haruki confirmed. TCH. That was kind of impressive. Hikaru raised an eyebrow. The death card was a card sealed at Duel Academy's North Branch, just like how the main academy had sealed the Sacred Beasts. The death card was the North Branch's sealed card. Like the Sacred Beasts, it devoured life, but unlike them, it only consumed the life and soul of its user. However, what it offered in return was something every duelist dreamed of. Drawing whatever card you wished. In the original, someone had used the one-turn kill. Iato draw combo with it, defeating nearly every duelist they faced until a duel with Jaden Yuki made them realize their true desire and abandon the death card. The guy before him now, completely different from Hikaru's memory of that character. So Sartorius got the death card from that person? The skull on my right hand cries out for victory. Defeat, defeat, defeat. Defeat every enemy before me. Death, grant me the power to make my wishes come true. Choose, life or victory. The Reaper spoke. Tiara stood to the side, eyeing the Reaper with keen interest. Of course, victory. Haruki roared as he drew. Hikaru narrowed his eyes. My turn. I normal summon Dimensional Alchemist. A black orb appeared before him, and then a white-clad mage manipulating the orb floated in front of him. Dimensional Alchemist, Level 4 Elite, Fairy, 1300 ATK. Once per turn, this card can banish the top card of my deck to gain 500 attack until the end of the turn. Haruki picked up the top card. Dimensional Alchemist, ATK, 1300 1800. So what's the point of that? I activate the spell card, Dimension Distortion. This lets me special summon a banished monster. Ha! Bastion blinked in surprise. Isn't that a card you can only activate when you have no cards in your graveyard? Normally, by the time you could use this card, your graveyard would already have something in it. Even if you could activate it on turn 1, it's still nearly impossible to have a useful monster ready to special summon immediately. And that alchemist only banishes the top card of the deck. This is way too reckless. Not just Bastion, all the nearby students, mostly top-performing duelists, couldn't help commenting. How could he be so sure Alchemist and this spell would combo that cleanly? Regardless, inevitably, it did. That was the power of death. Special summon, Barrier Statue of the Heavens. Hallelujah! A towering rock statue, resembling the Holy Mother, descended from another dimension, radiating light as it landed. Barrier Statue of the Heavens, Level 4 Elite Fairy 1000 Def. Wait, Barrier Statue of the Heavens? Bastion froze. What is it, Bastion? Selena asked. As long as that card's on the field, neither player can special summon monsters that aren't light attribute. And Hikaru's deck really doesn't have many light monsters. Bastion wore a conflicted expression. He just happened to banish that card? But it only has 1000 defense, Selena reasoned. Shouldn't be too hard to deal with. Bastion nodded. I activate the continuous spell, the fountain in the sky. A massive floating island appeared overhead, with streams of white light cascading down onto the field. Its aesthetic perfectly matched the Society of Light's signature style. As long as this card remains, whenever a light monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, I can banish it and regain life points equal to its attack. I set one card and end my turn. Just like that, Haruki's first turn ended in a seemingly strange but eerily self-looping setup. Hikaru stared at the field, thinking carefully about his opponent's tactics. His extra deck really didn't contain many light attribute fusion monsters. The barrier statue was definitely limiting him. If he wanted to duel smoothly, priority 1 was destroying the barrier statue. But doing that meant, thanks to the fountain in the sky, the statue would get banished and Haruki would recover 1000 life points. Then, if the alchemist got destroyed, its effect would let Haruki retrieve the banished monster. In short, it was a small-scale resource loop. Even so, that was only under ideal conditions. Hikaru could easily destroy the alchemist instead and leave the barrier statue alone, focus on running a one-off light play. After all, he didn't have many, but that didn't mean he had none. Say, for example, the Cyber Dragon series was almost entirely light attribute. My turn. Draw. Hikaru drew a card. Just what he needed. I activate the spell card, Fusion Deployment. By revealing a fusion monster, he could special summon one of its listed materials from his deck. Man, must be nice, always drawing exactly the card you need in a pinch, Haruki muttered enviously under his breath. That wraps up this part of What If Fusion Deck User in a Different Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.